gotta have Ozzy in that.
Woo!
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. I've been wanting to have you up here, and I've been having some issues and stuff. So I had a kind of like a break from doing interviews for a while, but now I want to get back into it. And I'm like, seeing your last video, and I'm like, oh, I'll see if she's got time to jump up here. And plus, you're in the garden community garden.
Global Gardening and Homesteading Challenge.
There you go. I can never get it. I can never get it right.
Yeah. Well, my first video when I was doing my intro video for the Global Gardening and Homesteading Challenge, I had it written on a piece of paper, and I would go, and the Global Guard, and the Global Guard. It was like, it's a mouthful.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Shed Wars is so much easier.
But we're not in sheds.
Yeah, I know. But I have a shed. Well, it's a garage, but
I do too.
I understand the whole reasoning from kind of making a garden community.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. And it'll take some time. It is a tongue twister. I didn't do Shed Wars, so then this was my first. So then it's been a little easier for me to capture it. So you'll catch it.
I do like how it's a lot easier this year. Especially it seemed like there was always something popping up to where I couldn't get I'd get all the videos, but I still felt like I was slacking on some videos. So
right.
I think it's better. It's more relaxed.
Right. Which is fine. Cause I just learned that you're on Homestead Aquarius's team, which is not my team. So I'm not concerned about you. It's like, yeah, relax, go ahead.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah.
We're still Shed Wars, though. Yeah.
Hi, Robert.
Yeah, and I used to, because I was on John's team, so I used to pick on Robert about his frogs. I was going to go down there and have some frog legs for dinner.
Oh.
I can't do that anymore because now I'm a frog.
That's right. You do not eat your own kind. No, no, no.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself and your channel and everything?
Sure. So, so I'm a what I would call a young gardener. I've only been gardening for 3 years. You know, the whole 2020 thing. So originally what I am is I'm a jazz and blues singer and a vocal teacher. And as far as they were concerned, I was, you know, almost one of the lowest of the non-essentials. So I couldn't work anymore.
Oh.
I did do a few, there was a really great software called Jam Kazam. And so my musicians and we could actually be in our own homes with very little latency. But the guys were on Macs. I was on a PC and it just wouldn't work. So I just closed it up. I just said, no, I can't, I'm not going to do this because I just kept getting bumped out of the system. And in that time I had started I had a few little pots and stuff and I didn't like gardening. My mom is an avid gardener, which in my next video, my mom will be the star of the show as will be in her garden. And with that, she'd always say, oh, you know, gardening is so relaxing and therapeutic. And, you know, and it was like, I don't like the feel of it. I had, you know, fancy Diva nails and all that sort of stuff. And, but I just started with a few pots. And then I guess the creativity in me, you know, as a singer, because it wasn't being utilized, it was like, well, let's decorate the whole yard. Let's make this a big, beautiful oasis. And so I had all 5 of my kidults home and my son-in-law. Everybody had moved into the house. And I just started this gardening. And with my oldest kidult, she kind of came alongside with me and we learned building, we learned bread making, we learned cheese making. And it was in the whole thing, I I guess what I was doing was years ago, like, now I'm on a different train, but I'm in the same train. But, I'm a mom of 5 kidults. And when they were young, I homeschooled and I wanted to be the homesteader. But I kind of thought about my personality and what I thought about gardening. I thought, absolutely not going out there. We'll just stay in the city. We're not moving out to a homestead. And so basically what I'm doing now in my later life is the homestead life I wanted when my kidults were little. I'm creating that. And it's been a real fun adventure because there's so many great content creators out there that, I
Yeah.
go and I look at their videos and go, oh, that's how you do that. Oh, that's why you plant that plant with that one. And it's been a great learning curve. And I could go back to, teaching, and I am back to singing, but I'm not interested in doing the low paying gigs. I'm only doing high paying gigs. So anyway, I just kind of fell into doing the videos, and the videos specifically, they were for my mom because we lived so far apart and I wanted her to be a part of my life. And then eventually I jumped into YouTube and became Diva in the Dirt.
Well,
That's the 15-minute version.
you say you always been a teacher, but yet you're still kind of teaching now when you do
Yes.
your videos,
Yes.
because there might be somebody out there that is in that same boat to where, because if you see somebody gardening and they try to get you to garden, and you have to go out there and pull their weeds and stuff like that, and it's just like, eh. But once you start something from a seed
Yes.
and watch it go and nurture it and then eat from that thing,
Yes.
you're hooked.
Yes, absolutely. Again, for where I live, the growing season starts much earlier than my hometown. And so when I was coming up to see my parents, I was bringing in my zucchinis, my crickneck squash, but patty pans, turnips, melons, cucumbers. And so actually my dinner last night for my mom and I, it was, with the exception of the meat, everything came from my garden. And it was like, I have made food.
Yeah, it's a big difference when you grow something yourself compared
Yes.
to, because I kind of did grow stuff, but when I was a kid, when I was stayed with my grandpa, he would do acres, and it was all by hand. He had a
Wow.
push plow and everything, and way too much food for just me and him. But he would give out corn, squat, everything.
Yes.
And people would come over and we would can all the green beans right out on the open flat fire and everything. And
Wow.
they'd set out, and then the next few days everybody come by and get the cases of corn or green beans
Wow.
or whatever it was being canned. And it was so much work. I didn't enjoy it. I hated it.
Yeah, of course.
But I wish I would have paid attention to half the knowledge that he had.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
that is the other key thing is, um, you know, I talking with my mom because I got into the pressure canning as well, and she goes, her grandmother, they didn't have pressure canners, but she was, she would raise the chickens, butcher them, and then she'd can it up. And my mom said, best chicken ever, like when you have canned chicken. And but my mom goes, I never did pressure canning. And she goes, nor did my mom. And I went, look at that. There's that lost art, which lost life skill art that is totally dwindling
Mhm.
away. And so that was another important thing that, now that my kids are older, it was like, okay, we're learning pressure canning. We're learning how to dispatch and process chickens. We're learning how to do these things because the unstableness of, our economy, you go, I want to know that I can grow food and still feed my family. I want to know that I'm
Mhm.
going to put things up coming, come this fall, that is going to still provide for my family, which, again, I brought a whole bunch of canning from this year and last year, I brought it up to my mom. So it's like, here, I'm going to set her up as well, and it is this lost essential skill that we all need to do. And so, most of my adults, it's like they've learned how to make the cheese, they're making the bread, they know how to do the canning, and these are small things that you can go pretty far with them.
Oh yeah. Now, out of everything that you've grown, what's one thing that you will never grow again?
That I will never grow again?
Or that you really dislike growing it?
So far, nothing. It's more the things that are supposed to be easy to grow, which I just wanted. There was a comment that Robert made that was beautiful. Plant seeds and watch them put roots down into your soul. Like, what a beautiful statement. But it's like radishes. Radishes are supposed to be easy to grow. I have this past year, I've grown one small batch. So it's more the things that are challenging to grow. I go, I'm going to grow that. One thing I don't want to grow, but it's already in my yard, is sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes.
Oh
yeah. I will eat them. They're great. My kids, they all went, yeah, we're a little gassy, please don't grow them again. But so I thought I'll rip them all out. So I ripped them all out this year. But all it takes is a little bit of root, and I've got my whole, kind of, 4-foot grow bag is filled with them yet again. But I would still grow them. I just look at anything that you can grow to eat and that will grow in abundance. I do love that. But I might come up with something where you go, oh, I hate growing that. But so far, nothing. It's just onions, radishes, the okra. That, like last year, my okra plant was maybe about this big, got that tall, and I think I got 3 pods off of it. And so then I'm determined I'm going to try it again this year. I'm going to put it in a different place.
It's not as easy up here to grow okra than it is down in the southern states.
Right.
I've grown it quite a bit. I'm the only one that eats it.
Right.
And I only grow enough just for me to eat through the summer. I don't save it for for soups or anything like that. I just once I get like a good batch of it, then I chop it up and I deep fry it.
Yes. Well, that growing up, so my mom is Canadian born and is white. My dad is from Mississippi, and so he's Black. And so we had experiences of that beautiful Southern cooking. And so fried okra with a little bit of bacon in it, it's just like, so you go, I'm like you, I'm happy just to have one dish. I know all my kids like it, but it's like, nope, not sharing it. You didn't grow it. You're not getting it. But that's what I'd like. What is a vegetable that you go, I hate growing that?
I would say, I don't dislike growing it. It's eggplant. It takes a whole lot of space.
Right.
Some things I can cram together. Their roots can mingle and stuff. It's fine, but that stuff will suck the nutrients out of everywhere. Pretty far.
Okay.
The batch that I grew last year, which the tree squished most of my garden, but the eggplant, I still grew eggplant. I noticed because I had on the opposite side of a 3-foot bed, I had cucumbers.
Right.
My cucumbers didn't grow.
Wow.
They grew, but didn't produce anything. Mm-hmm. And I could tell by just the ground around there that those eggplants just sucked everything.
Right. Wow. Well, that's a good thing to note. I did grow eggplant the first year, but I bought like a pre-made pot from Costco, and that was fine. I've tried them since, and I struggled, and so then I've not gone back to it because it's just like, well, what else can I grow?
Yeah, I would think doing it in a pot would have been better.
Right.
Separated from everything else.
Right.
But I think it would have to be a big pretty good sized pot per plant,
Hmm.
because these things were, oh, at least 4 feet tall.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't. They weren't supposed to be that big, but
But something in the good nutrients in your soil just made them be, crazy monsters.
yeah.
Mhm.
As far as that, that's probably the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and too bad I haven't seen the big pepper challenge, because I know I'd win that one this year too.
Okay.
Because I've got a 17-inch pepper out there right now.
Wow. Have you filmed it?
Not yet. I'm still waiting for it. I had one that was 14 inches, but the plant was so small, um, it was pushing on the ground, and then something got it on the ground, and then it
Oh,
rotted. And I was like, oh
boo.
man, almost turned red.
Boo. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
struggling with my peppers this year, but I've struggled right from when they were in my studio. I had probably soil gnats and some aphids, and so they
yeah,
just really struggled. And then once I got them into ground, I've moved them. The ones I put into pots, um they did a whole lot. They're doing a whole lot better, but it's like not like last year. But every time that something's like that didn't work, you go, okay, all right, let's go to the drawing board, and what are we going to do to fix it? But yeah, I don't think
hmm,
there's anything I don't like growing. I just it's important to grow food that we are going to eat.
yeah.
We do eat kale, and I had one daughter said, "Oh, I love kale. Get me, grow lots of kale." So I put kale everywhere in the yard. Did she eat any of the kale? Nope. So guess who wasn't growing kale this year? So and it's just because she didn't go out to go get it herself. It was like, you know,
It's I went through the same thing when my kids were here. Oh, kale, yeah, that's healthy stuff. It's good for you and everything. Ugh. So I took it and dredged it in olive oil and put spices on it and
right.
dehydrated it,
Ooh,
and
yes.
and made it into kale chips, and they gobbled it up.
Yeah. You if you make one pan, you know that within the next hour it's gone. You
Yeah,
know.
that's
So
that's like making beef jerky.
yes.
I'd put it in, I'd make it in these little bags, and I'd put oxygen absorbers in there and everything, and I'd get it all ready for storage, and then where's the beef jerky at? Where'd it go? Were you
It's
saving that?
that's right. I'm putting it up for storage for the future so I can enjoy it over the next few months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that once you make a certain thing, they know when it's being made again.
Right. Yeah. And everybody comes around.
Yeah. I did learn one thing this year, because um, growing in containers, because I got a little strip of land that's not very big, so I'm growing it raised beds, and this year I'm growing it in 5-gallon buckets
Mm,
in certain areas. Well, I did it before, but I ended up getting bugs, really bad bugs, into it. They'd crawl up through the bottom of the buckets
right.
and start munching on my roots and stuff. So my idea was get them off the ground, and so I built a little stand for them and everything. Um, but I learned, like my tomatoes and peppers, I had fed them in the soil before I had planted in there, and I
Right.
planted tomatoes and peppers on the other side, and I noticed my leaves were at the bottom leaves were turning yellow, and that's usually a sign either watering too much or they're not getting enough food.
Right.
So I'm like, I just fed them, I just fertilized and I just whatnot. So the way I figure it is, whenever I'm watering these, because I'm having to water quite a bit because we're not getting that much rain.
Right.
So whenever I water, it goes straight out the bottom the 5-gallon bucket.
Right.
So I found out that I have to do it twice as much
I was
than I
going to say
would
double water.
stuff that was in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly. Because at least the ground would help to, kind of give that pressure where it's not just all going to run
yeah,
out.
it
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
slowly dissipates into the ground, but
Yeah.
now that they're up, it just
Right.
goes straight through.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Because yeah, this year my mom, she's doing all her plants are all in pots on her deck because she's got mobility issues, can't go out to her garden boxes, and hers are up. So it is one of those things. Well, okay, you got to water. You have to water more often just because it's in a container, but when it's up higher, that's a good
Yeah.
good point to note. And my mom's watching, so you getting that, Barbara dear?
Yeah, and as soon as I fed them, all of a sudden the yellow went away and they were nice and green.
All right. That's
Even though the seeds that I got were supposed to be cherry tomatoes, they're not cherry tomatoes.
What are
I,
they?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
They're tomatoes, but they're weird. They're almost like a flat potato or tomato,
Uh-huh.
and the very tops were really orange and the bottoms were red. So I have
Hmm.
no idea. They were supposed to be a different type of cherry tomato I got from Garden State Gardener
Right.
um, a year or so ago, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to try these out," because I always like to try different
Hmm.
varieties and things like that. But when I tried them out, I'm like, "Wow, these are big." I mean, because the the stalks and everything were really thick, and I'm like wondering if this not looking like a cherry tomato.
It's not very cherry-like.
Because you notice when cherry tomatoes grow, it's in a long strip, and they're real close together.
Hmm.
And these are they're handful of tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
They're still getting ate and everything. It's
Yeah.
just I miss my cherry tomatoes.
Yeah, Mike Jones there, he's got a good point. And that's a really good idea is put a water bottle with a pinhole in it so that it's just a slow drip. So that might be a really great thing for my mom here,
Yeah.
just to get some water bottles and put them in her plants to let it be a slow drip so that it's keeping that moisture in.
Well, we got I don't have them anymore because the sun rots them out. Um, it's a spike that you screw on the bottom of a 2-liter bottle, and it
Hmm.
has holes in it, and you stick it in the ground
Great.
with the 2-liter bottle, and it drips into the ground. Fortunately, they don't last very long because the sun.
Right.
If they would, make them out of metal or something, I don't know, probably
Right.
last longer.
Yeah. Well, there's a job. There's an opportunity for someone to come up with.
Yeah. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I was, somewhere else where I could have a big strip of land and everything, then grow whatever I wanted to, I would definitely go into drip system or something like that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I do hand watering because I do some in ground. I do have some in pots. And grow bags, and then also I have a whole bunch in straw bales. So I have a lot of different varieties, and so some things I do need to go around water, more often, and others it's okay. But I do use a lot of wood chips and straw to actually keep the moisture in. Even in my plant pots, I'll put sawdust on the tops, or straw on the top of them, just to help
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
the liquid in.
Unfortunately, the stuff we get around here is sprayed with stuff, and I don't
Right.
want that stuff on my garden.
Yeah.
The best stuff I had gotten to kind of for raised beds is the coconut husk.
Yep.
Oh, but now it's like it's way too expensive now.
Exactly.
So I'm stuck with watering more.
Yeah. which is fine. What I
Yeah.
would love to get is my own tree chipping, but all the units that
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen, they're for smaller branches, which is mostly what I'd have. But unless I'm gonna have the money to buy something that's you know more high stream and stronger that'll last, I'm not interested in spending $1,000 in something that's gonna last me a season. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I know what you mean there.
Yeah. So, but I do try to get a tree service to bring me trees from the local area here, and whether they're sprayed or not, I'm not aware. But I do know, like, we do have some spray that goes on, and
Yeah.
even the soil I do purchase, like, it's not necessarily like they're organic, but whatever the cows are eating, you don't know, you know if there's been overspray
Mhm.
onto the fields, and the cows are eating it, and then it's coming through the poop.
Yeah. That's one reason. Um, a lot of people swear by the bags of cow manure, horse manure.
Yeah.
Um, I don't I don't do the bags because you don't know how long it's set and things like that. I've
Right.
seen so many people mix it into their soil and
Right.
plant, and then wonder why their plants burn up.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
because it didn't set long enough.
Yeah, this company, they're on the island, and they only service the island, and it is a fabulous soil, and they have a dairy farm, and then it's all local, you know trees and things that come through, and they break it down, and it does go through quite a process, and they do sell it by the truckloads, but they also sell it by the bags, which is more convenient
Oh yeah,
for me, because then it's like I can put 4 bags into a wheelbarrow and take them around where I need to go. If I'm doing an in-ground bed, then I go and I get a truckload and you know put it onto the soil.
wheelbarrow it.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, a friend of mine, he had, we were doing gravel. And so he had something in the back of his truck bed that was almost like a conveyor belt. So he would just,
Oh yeah.
and he would just scoop it out onto the belt.
It,
And
they have like a little crank on the side,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
But I,
those
I
are
think it was
awesome.
electric though. I think he
Oh, it
had,
was electric. Oh, that's
yeah,
even better.
yeah. I think he might have jimmied it. He's kind of that kind of jack of all trades kind of guy. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I remember having one of those until the handle broke.
right.
I was very sad.
Yes, no kidding. Well, that's the thing for me. It's like, yeah, I want to go and get a half a yard of soil, but I have to process it right away because I'm not going to drive around with soil in the back of my truck, and so it has to be a day of, like, okay, today is we're filling the beds, and
Well, my garden, I've got, and like I said, I don't have much space. I set up uh, right next to my garage. I set up a spot for compost and a
yep,
spot for my soil.
right.
That way, I can, if I go get soil, I'll just put it in there until I'm ready to use it for whatever projects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, should have got some this year, but I actually ran out of soil this year. So
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately,
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Old Ways Garden Prepping, Mama Owl. She said, I think she was talking about that the grazon goes right through the animals, and it's like, yes, because the box soil that I bought 2 years ago, which is organic, and so when I planted everything looked great, and I potted them up into that soil, and then it was like, I think I had between 70 and 90 tomatoes. Everything started to die off,
oh,
and it was like, and I was still fairly new, and thinking, okay, maybe I'm overwatering, maybe I'm underwatering, all of these things. I'd sent some of the plants up to my mom, and and she's like, she's got that wisdom where she knows, how to look after plants, and they were dying on her, and we both kind of at the same time said, we think it's the soil. And then um, Jess from Roots and Refuge, she was doing a huge kind of thing about the grazon at the time. And I went, okay, so I didn't kill them. So it is something to
mhm.
do with this soil. And I thought, never buying, the box store soil again. the big box store soil. And so I've just settled in making my own compost, which I think I have about 6 different composting bins. Some of them are pallets, so 4 of them are pallets, so it's big composting. And then the ones that are more confined, that's where I put our household stuff into it, so that the animals don't come and get it. So it's like it's either what I'm composting or the soil that I get from farm to garden organics on the island. And it's like that's all I'm going to use from now on.
Yeah. And that's what gardening is. It's a learning process.
Yeah.
And that's to me, that's the fun part is even though, something might not turn out, but when you learn that mistake or that new thing, that's like,
yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I again, that was, I think that's one of the main things why it was so liberating when I first started, was because in my job, as a musician, you make a mess of something, you screw up on stage, and people are forgiving, but you yourself are like, oh, and I go back and I go, okay, how do I fix that or whatever? Or just in life in general, you make mistakes with people or whatever. But with a plant, it's like, I'm sorry, I killed you. Okay, well, let's go and grow another one. Let's go figure out how to keep, the plant's not like, darn you, Maureen, you killed me. I hate you. You don't have that. And it's just the disappointment, but you go, okay, roll up my sleeves, figure out does it need more sun, less sun, more food, more water, less food, different location. And it just becomes this kind of liberating thing of, failure isn't really failure, when, is where it just takes you out, where you're just like, oh, I suck at this. It's like, no, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to figure out what works and what doesn't work. It just kind of gives you that determination. Well, it does for me.
Yeah.
I don't know other people if they fail at their gardens and then just, lay on top of the soil and weep. I've killed everything. I'm a bit like that. I would be that dramatic, actually.
What would you say is your number one plant that you do awesome at? Like for me, I'm going to say is my Cherokee purple tomatoes.
Tomatoes, yeah.
Those things, I just leave them alone, and they do their thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would probably say my squashes, and again, it's I'm growing these squashes in straw bales, and every so often I come by and give it some water, and then put my poo-poo juice onto it, and it's like brilliant. And for those of you that don't know what poo-poo juice is, it's not my poo into juice. It's compost tea, but I go, it stinks, so I call it poo-poo juice. So once a week they get a poo-poo juice, and I water the bales, and it's just prolific. And then I love that the storage for your squashes, like it's like they say 7 months. You go, I still have a 20-pound pumpkin in my larder, and I think about 2 months ago I went and processed one for my daughter to make dog food for her dog. And it was absolutely fantastic. The chickens got the seeds, the dog got the flesh, and you go, yeah, I like the idea of squashes because we could just continue to eat them. And so when you go, okay, I'm going to grow a year's worth of squash of different kinds, and so I love doing the squashes. That is one of my favorites. I do like the tomatoes as well, and the cucumbers or the pickling cutes, like. Again, when you're a new gardener, you go, oh, there's my little pickling cuke. It looks great. I'll check on it in a couple of days. Well, if you wait 4 days, you go, okay, it's way too big to pick, And so I love the fact that it just like bang overnight, it changes in size. Actually, a lot of vegetables do that.
Yeah, I wish I had more room so I'd love to grow watermelon and cantaloupe and pumpkins, because pumpkins are awesome. There's so many multiple uses for pumpkins.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah,
You
we
can
did my biggest pumpkin.
flour, you can turn them
Yeah,
into anything.
my biggest pumpkin last year was 63 pounds, and so we processed it, and so we canned up some, we pureed some and froze it for making a pumpkin sage ravioli, and then of course made it into pies, and it's just, and so then when I have all this pumpkin canned up on my shelf, it's like we've got this to make a squash soup or whatever. And
Mhm.
with the way my yard is set up, there is a big area, a boulevard area in the front at the road, and I think I only own 1/3 of it. The rest of the city owns it, and I didn't know if they would allow me to grow out there, but nobody said nothing, so I just keep doing it. And so
Mhm.
that has allowed me to grow things like watermelon, the cantaloupe, the honeydew. Cantaloupe and honeydew is my first official year this year. Last year, with the grazon killing my plants, they were very weak plants. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was adding in kind of a special type of microbe to actually heal the soil in the pot that they were in. So they didn't come out really big, but this year I'm seeing that they're growing, and that is again because I grew up kind of in central British Columbia. You don't grow watermelons, cantaloupe unless you're doing them in a greenhouse, and so with me doing them down on the island, that is super exciting for me, and it's like, oh, I'm growing grapes, I'm growing all this fruit that I wouldn't have been able to grow if I still lived in my hometown.
I'm trying to figure out what Jeff's talking about.
Oh,
Uh,
is Jeff? Oh, Jeff. Oh,
oh, I think he's talking about canning certain things. Okay.
ah. Well,
I think that's what he's talking about.
we'll put that post up again, Jeff.
Well, he does
Moderating.
the talk to text, or yeah, that's what it is. Voice to text, and he's up north in North Carolina, so
Ah.
he has a strong accent. So his his phone doesn't talk hillbilly, so his words don't come out all
Oh,
the same.
right. Juby Joe, yeah, a pumpkin sage ravioli. She's made all would be awesome with a lemon soy vinegar wasabi sauce. It's like, okay, I think I just drooled a little bit. That does sound fantastic. Mhm.
Well, we can get if you guys want to ask some questions, just if you can, put it all in caps so that way we can see it, or do the at Bushcraft.
Yeah, well,
See
I'm
if we
sure
get
most of
any
them are
questions.
are long-term gardeners. It's like, yeah, you don't have any. You can ask me personal questions, but I'm not going to be able to give you advice on anything.
You never know. That's the thing. There's always new gardeners out there,
Yes, that's true.
and
That's true.
learning different things. Uh,
Whereabouts is your dirt? Um, Maybe ask a bit more specific. What do you mean by dirt?
it's in our garden.
Exactly. But is it the dirt that I purchase or?
Yeah, where I get my dirt, I have to go quite a good ways to get to it.
Oh,
It's a um, they got a greenhouse and all kinds of plants in there, and nursery and whatnot, and they mix it with sand and
right.
mulch and uh, other stuff, and they actually lay out there. They have this um, big sheets of metal. They lay out there wherever they get their sand from, and they
Mm-hmm.
lay it out. And I
Wow.
was wondering why there's long strips of sand out in the field. And I was asking them about that, and they says, we don't want nothing in our soil that we would pick up wherever they get their sand at, and the sun will kill the stuff that's inside that,
Brilliant.
because that metal heats up and kills anything that's in that sand, and it's just perfect size for their little, I don't know what to call them, little scooper thingy. I'll put it that way. Steer skid or whatever they call it. I
Right.
forget.
Little, it's not a forklift, but it is kind of a
Yeah.
buckety thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Be Charming, where I get my soil, it's called Farm to Garden Organics, and it's locally made on Vancouver Island, and they don't actually distribute it anywhere else. And, so I said, well, if I ever move from the island, how am I going to get my soil? Because it's like, I'm going to get you guys to deliver it to me or whatever. So so I do my soil from Farm to Garden Organics, and then as well my own composted soil, which has got my chicken manure in it, and those little ladies, they work darn hard on making me some great composted soil. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, then ask again.
Now, what do you have planned for the future with your channel? You got any good stuff coming up?
No, not per se. Right now, I'm working hard at trying to launch my website, because again, like I have an entity as a jazz singer, so I am Maureen Washington as a singer, but now it's Maureen Washington, Diva in the Dirt, or Diva in the Dirt, Maureen Washington. You're welcome, B. And then so I would like to continue to grow my channel. Hit to partnership, that would be wonderful. Not well, sure, the day you get to partnership, you go, good, you make $1.18, that's awesome. But long term, well, so yeah, to the website, it's like, I've got my Diva in the Dirt t-shirts, and so I would like to launch some of those types of things. But my goal, even though it's like I'm getting old, is I would like to buy a property and move into that more self-sufficiency, keeping it really in not necessarily like not organic, but just the self-sufficiency, so that we are using our gray water to water the gardens, and just to have a bigger piece of property, be able to add in meat birds that I can grow myself. Like, I've learned how to process them at a different farm, but I would like to actually become more self-sufficient, eventually add in animals one at a time. Like, I wouldn't just go, okay, I've got the farm, let's get the cows, let's get the pigs, let's get the goats. It's like, I'm still learning laying hens, and so adding meat birds in with my laying hens, well, that's a new thing. And then just each time I kind of somewhat master how to look after that animal, add another one. So that's my long term goal is I would like to have a few acres of land, and be able to have my grandchildren come and spend time of learning how to look after yourself, and come and be with their glamour, and learn all the homesteading skills that should be passed down and should be being taught now.
And we got a question here from Robert. Do you think you'd be able to keep walking down your garden aisles without them being taken over?
Okay, yes, no. Yes, it was ridiculous to plant 3 sugar pumpkin plants beside a Big Max pumpkin that's right beside the watermelons. No, there's going to be no paths of walking through my garden soon.
Well, you could grow cucamelons.
I did. They're in a pot. They're just,
Well, I thought Jeff invented this one, because he planted his cucumbers and watermelon next to each other, and they mixed. We'll put them that way, and his watermelons turned out didn't have it was more cucumber instead of watermelon. So
Mm,
we called them cucamelons.
right. But that's probably a larger size, not the little QQ melons, the teeny
Yeah.
tiny ones. Yeah. Yeah. I think, Robert, what I'm trying to do, because yes, it is in that front boulevard, it is taking over because, I don't know what the square footage of that space is, but when you plant over 40 squashes, not including all the melons and pumpkins. So I would wonder if I'm up to more like 50, 55 in this boulevard area. What I have been doing is, as they're branching out, is I am kind of trying to keep where I'll have a walking path so that I can actually get in and not crush things. So I'm trying to move things around and set it up as it's as it's taking over. It's like oh, what was that one movie where they had the plant? The plant was or not Seymour, but the plant was kept growing.
Oh,
And
pet shop or
yeah, little shop of horrors or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying not to have that. Yes, 40 squash. Yeah. But I've got lots of trellising going up, and I've got some coming out of the grow bag and circling around. But yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to need to put pylons out on the road just so they can keep
They can
growing.
just make a trellis where they grow over the road.
Exactly. I've got to bring in a forklift and yeah. Hmm.
This year, I didn't have problems with any bugs or anything. I haven't had to spray. I better knock on wood. Um, but the one issue I did have was birds.
Oh.
Not to mention a deer. But the birds, when I first brought my plants out there, they pulled the plants out, just the cucumbers. So because I started them inside, and then I just planted, because at the beginning I had six cucumber plants.
Hmm.
So they pulled them all out. So I went and just got the seeds and put 3 seeds in, and I got more out of those 3 seeds than I have all the the probably 4 or 5 years now.
Wow.
I've canned so much pickles and relish and all kinds of stuff, and I still have probably 40 pounds of cucumbers on my counter out there, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with.
That's awesome. Yeah, Grace Johnston. Yeah, I that's a really good idea about putting the cardboard down. I see that. That's at this point I'm just moving things around and I'll reset the fruit, to be, in line and whatnot. But yeah, no, that's awesome. You just you start pickling and then you start selling your jars of pickles, I guess.
Yeah, I already had a bunch of jars, and I actually had to go buy jars this year. I'd been saving them,
Right.
because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I I I I I, I don't want to say I hoard things, but
Of course you do, and of course we should say it. We're all hoarders. I'm proud to say, hi, my name's Maureen, and I'm a canning jar hoarder. Hmm.
and every once in a while you get lucky, and I find them at Goodwill.
Yes.
Although now they started marking them up, I think they did it on purpose because I was buying so many of them.
Right. Yeah, that's that's a super good point, because when I first started, a case of 12 up here of quartz was running at about $10, give or take. And
And
then within 2 years, they are at 25 dollars
wow,
for 12.
holy moly!
They have upped it by 100%.
Yeah, I
Oh
get
yeah,
it
my
at
mom says I'm a bucket hourder. Yes, I am. I'm also a bucket hoarder. I love pails. I love things that hold stuff. It's just like you go,
yeah.
oh, I need to move that. Oh, well, here I've got, I got a 5 gallon pail. I can move it. You know.
Unfortunately, all the places around here have done this where their trash is connected to a compactor or something to where you can't get into their trash.
Oh.
So, because I used to go to the grocery stores that had delis and stuff, and they would throw out their, whatever was in pickles or um,
Hmm.
salads or whatever, and you get the food grade buckets, and it's like, ooh, I can lay
Yeah.
something in this.
Yeah, exactly.
um,
Yeah, my one of my difficulties last year, and so far I've not had the problem this year, was last year I had a rat. I had a rat epidemic on my property. I live near kind of a
I'll,
kind of a,
I'll,
a
I'll,
bog.
rent, I'll rent you one.
So,
He'll
yeah,
get
but
rid
when
of
I
the
do get
rats.
it, when I do get property, I will have some mousers there as well. But I have my studio in the back on my property, and they were up in the attic, which I don't know how they survived because I know how hot it is up there. But
Yeah.
so I don't know if they were just in the walls, and they were eating everything. I think I got one piece of broccoli about this big, and I even on camera, it was like I picked it and I thought, this is my one. I'm going to eat it before they did. And I asked, like, I brought in an exterminator twice, cost me, not a ton, but still, you go, it's not money I want to put out, especially when it's not getting rid of them.
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine, he brought over it's by Tomcat. I don't know if you guys have, Tomcat products there, but it's a little black thing, black plastic, and it was quite big. And he brought it over. I put it out, caught one the first night, went out and got three more. So I had four, put them out. And so in the month of August, I caught 21
Oh,
rats,
wow. You had
and
a whole
doing it
family.
that way. And because I used to always put a live trap out, and it's not like we've had, you always have the odd rat, but not where it's like I watched them, come from the roof of my studio, and they're in the trees all moving about, and it was like, this is just like a cartoon. It's like there's like 8 to 10 of them right in there. And as I was researching about rats, you can follow the lineage of one rat to 15,000 rats within a year. And it's like, oh my gosh. So when I, captured and killed 20, I said to my city, I would like the keys to the city. You're welcome, because I just prevented 320,000 rats. You're welcome. You're welcome. But no, they didn't give me the keys to the city, unfortunately. But I still, like, this year we've already picked through the broccoli. Stuff is not getting eaten. So I know that I've eradicated the rats
Oh, that's
from
good.
from my property. We still see them, but it isn't that they're at home. And I think that's what the difference is that they came out of the roof rafters of my studio and went, oh, look, here's the grocery store. Let's help ourselves.
Yeah, I remember somebody told me, "Oh, I'll put mothballs in your garden." I've seen them pick up the mothballs and carry them off. That doesn't
Ooh,
work.
this might be nice. It's like, hey, Judy, let's just take it to our house because it's kind of stinky there with all those babies, with all those hundreds of babies. So
Yeah, I believe it or not, when I had some little rodents out there, my best thing was a BB gun with a scope on it at nighttime,
right.
and I just ping, 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 and I left him out there at night too, and then that
Right.
and that actually, neighborhood cats came over,
Right. And so the
and
neighborhood
then
cats took these gifts home to their families.
probably, but we still have a cat that roams around back there, which I don't mind as long as they don't go digging in my garden beds. But
Hmm.
I haven't had issues since then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And so far,
I think it was because um, we had in the alleyway opposite of us, we had somebody that uh, was renting a house over there that wasn't so clean. I'll put it
right.
that way.
Right.
So yeah,
It
and they
just
had stuff laying around, and
yeah, a welcome environment.
yeah,
Yeah, and with when I had the exterminator, they did go around and were trying to look for areas where they were getting in. So and in that I've learned, you know, um, when they do get into areas that just scrunching up some chicken wire and just shoving it in between that stops them. But I had asked the exterminator. I said, so like they're eating all my vegetables. Like, what are they, vegetarians? Like I thought they weren't. He said, no, they're looking for water. And it was so hot last year. And because I'm one to like pour out all the water, prevent the mosquitoes and don't feed the
Yeah.
rats water. So I did start putting out containers and let to allow them to go, okay, here's some water. Don't eat my veggies, please. So yeah, but
Yeah.
that was my one. And this year so far, I've just had a a little I don't know if you what you call some baby bunnies, but baby bunnies were birthed in my potato patch. So out in the
Yeah,
front.
they can eat it quite a bit.
Yeah, and
and I haven't had any issues with. I see them every once in a while, but I usually don't have any issues with them eating anything.
yeah,
It's
they
the
I
it's the
they
deer.
haven't eaten. They're not eating, like they didn't eat into the potatoes and stuff. And I'm not seeing them that. I just see them, you know, running around the yard. Or if I come to water the potatoes, then they all of a sudden, whoo, out comes this little bunny, and you know,
I did have a raccoon the other night,
oh
um, and the only thing I had because I just harvested about 15 pounds of cucumbers, and I had them on my step before I went in the house, and I picked up a cucumber and threw it at him. It hit the raccoon in the back of the head, and he went. Yeah.
so
Took
that's
off.
that's what you're going to use with your abundance of cucumbers. They're also weapons.
Yep. And I was yelling at him, get out of here, get out of here.
Yeah,
And he just looking at me, and I said, okay. And I'm looking around for something, and the only thing that was there was a cucumber.
yeah. That's good.
And
You got to use what's at hand.
yeah,
But
and I kept my camera uh, on my phone, so I was watching my garden for like 3 days, making sure he didn't
Did
come
he
back
come back?
because he wasn't after any vegetables or anything. He was after my rabbits,
Right,
and
right.
that's I was more worried about that than anything. And
Exactly. And that's for myself with the rats. Like I used to, I was able to live trap them, and then I would just drown them. And then where I live, there is this kind of park setting that they call the bog. And I would, take them over there, because there is part of me that goes, well, this is dead rodent would be great for birds of prey, but I don't want to just fling it out, in the front of my yard, because then that brings them near and too
yeah,
near where my chickens are, and I'm just not interested. So when I do, when I'm not lazy, I do walk over to the bog and go, here, let me feed you guys some dead rats. So it's the circle of life. Because I have some friends who go, how could you kill them? Because they're eating all my vegetables, and they
yeah,
can carry stuff, and it's like they're preventing me from feeding myself and my family. And they go, oh yeah, good point, but don't kill them. And it's like, yes, because in a year this is 15,000. This could be the grandmother, grandmother 15,000 rats. No.
yeah. Then you get cats to get rid of the mice, and then all of a sudden you have because Japan has a whole island that's nothing but cats. There's thousands of cats because
Wow.
uh, they started off with rats and they got cats, and then the cats, you know,
Procreated.
yep. And now they have a whole island just full of cats.
A cat colony. That's
um,
that's crazy.
I'm in the city,
Hmm.
and I have one deer. It's the same deer. I know it is. Um, well, I kind of know because he has a pink paint dot on his rear end or her rear end. Um, uh, that comes out of the woods and walks down the street and goes into my garden and eats my cucumbers.
Oh,
Well, not the cucumbers, but the leaves off the
right,
cucumber plants.
right,
And I can't do nothing about it because I'm in the city. So I got a paint gun,
right,
which makes a move.
right. And
But
does your paint gun, is it pink?
no, the pellet, the
Oh,
paintball
yeah.
balls. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So yeah, are your paint pellets pink?
Yeah.
So that's how you know that it's the same deer.
Yeah. And evidently it hasn't washed off yet.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, well, it's like Feder Lumpkin says, deer is sneaky and vindictive.
Oh yeah.
So I think because it's probably got a little bruise tiny, it's like, I'm going to bushcraft and I'm going to go and keep wreaking havoc on his life.
Yeah, unfortunately we have at the end of the road, you go further up and there's a little bit of woods. And there's one house there that feeds them
Oh,
and then
right,
stops feeding them.
right.
So they always come down and, oh, no food.
That's right. Here's another grocery
Oh,
store.
gardens.
Yeah, right.
And somebody that's 2 doors down from us, they had a fence, a 4-foot fence, and this, I still think the same deer would jump over their fence and eat their stuff and jump back out. So
Yeah,
they went and built a 6-foot wooden fence,
right,
and that's so far it's done the trick.
right. I've heard that they'll jump 6 feet.
Oh
I've
yeah,
heard
oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Highways have 6-foot
Right, exactly.
fences.
Yeah. Well, I found that like, so in my boulevard, that's where I will plant garlic, potatoes. I can do onions there. I can do all the squashes. And so far, the rabbits and the deer, they leave it alone. Where in the back, that's where I have the tomatoes, the corn, the, cucumbers and everything else, cabbages. They can access my yard, but we do have a dog. Um, and so I think that's preventing the deer from hopping over. They could come at night, but I just think the dog's presence, maybe once in a while, there could be a poop left overnight in the back. And but I haven't seen them. Because I don't have, like, I have, like, a little short fence. It takes nothing for it to hop over. But so far, no wildlife is, eating the stuff in the back. So
Yeah, they say that when you can cut your hair and you mix it in the soil and stuff, and they smell human, so they won't.
oh,
That has nothing to do with this. The only thing that seems to work, which was a thing for cats that they wouldn't jump up on the counter. It's a motion sensor air thing. It would go psst and shoot out air to
oh,
scare the cat off the counter.
right, right.
But my cats jump on the counter and go with the air hitting them in the face. So that did no good. So I put it out there and put it on a stake, and when he comes up to the eat my cucumber leaves,
Right,
it goes psst, and he's off,
right,
and
right.
that seems to work.
That's awesome. Because I've seen those cat videos where people will put a cucumber with the cat freaks out. Your cats are like,
Well,
thank you.
what is that?
Yeah.
and smack it a couple times and walk off, and I'm
Yeah,
like, why do everybody else's cat jump up in air on cucumbers?
right.
And I'll try to sneak one over there and put it behind them. No,
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
it
Yeah,
does nothing for them.
these are the real life struggles of bushcraft family.
And then people say, "Oh, put tinfoil up on the counter. When they jump on it, it makes a noise and it freaks them out and runs off. And they just lay on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, B Charming says because your cats have trust in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got them pretty well trained. I have one counter, island counter. I said, well, you guys can stay on that counter, but you can't come up on this one.
Right.
So when they're on that one, I pick them up off of it and say no, and I put them over on the other one or the bar stools because
Right.
I trying to get them to train to be on the bar stools instead of it on the counters,
Right.
and that seemed to work.
Right. That's cool.
And unless I'm cooking chicken,
It's like,
they
oh, are
love
you cooking food for us now?
it. Well, sometimes, yeah. Well, not much anymore, but because it used to be you could get a bunch of scrap chicken for really cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd boil it up and put it in with squash and some other stuff, barley, and that was their cat food. And I could eat it too if I had to.
Right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that was that. Now chicken is as much as beef and pork.
Yeah. 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 It's pretty ridiculous. My mom said, growing up, it was, you buy the chicken wings because they were super cheap, and we had a big
Yeah,
family. And and then when the buffalo wing craze came
yeah,
out, then it's like, no, wings are just as expensive as any other piece of the chicken. You're like,
yeah.
there's
That's
not any meat on it.
brisket. Brisket used to be the same thing because it was a scrap part of a cow. And
Mm,
then all of a sudden, these cooking shows came out, barbecue pit masters and this and that, and then, oh, everybody, and then it went through the roof, and you can't get it anymore unless you spend tons of money on it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm like you where I do live, just like I live in a residential area. The house was built in the 1950s. So that's, it was a time where the lot sizes weren't, now what they have, you get a postage stamp, in the front and two postage stamps in your back. And so,
Yeah,
so I'm super grateful that it has allowed me to have the space to grow as much as I do. But it's like, and it's like I'm okay with having an urban farm, but I would like to, think about buying something, you know,
yeah.
something established. Because again, it's like I'm too old to go. Well, I'm just going to go and start, and I'm going to build my dream house. Well, no, I'm not going to build my dream house, but I'm going to build
Oh,
a house. It's like,
that's horrible to be allergic to chicken.
wow, no kidding.
Dang.
That's very sad.
Yeah.
I would hate that.
So that would be eggs too. Oh man, there's so much stuff that's in eggs
Mm-hmm.
or that has eggs in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard of anybody being allergic to chicken. So,
I have known somebody that was allergic to water.
wow.
That's yeah, on their skin or anything, and I'm like, don't know how they. I didn't want to ask questions or anything like that because that's my biggest thing is how do you drink stuff and
Right. Right.
how do you take a bath?
Right. How do you get clean? Oh,
Yeah.
Pat said I can eat eggs and broth. So that's
Oh, okay.
that's at least something. Yeah, I have I'm allergic to all tree nuts, and I'm allergic to most fruit, any of the berries and that. But for myself, it's that if like if it was some raspberry and I touched it on my lip or in my mouth, I react. But if I can have a raspberry pill or a blueberry pill, as long as there's no essence of the oils on it, I can have it in my body,
Oh,
no problem. But it's just nothing can be at my mouth. So, oh yeah, life with Bobby. I think I knew someone who was allergic to eggs. I find that a lot of people are allergic to eggs. Like when I was growing up, a lot of people
mm,
were. I'm not a
yeah.
big egg fan personally, but like even like with all my allergies, it's like I grow. I can't eat raspberries, but I know people who can, and my family can eat raspberries, and
Yeah.
so the blueberries, I'll grow those things and I'll can them. Just because I can't eat them, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna, because I don't have a reaction if I'm working with the product. So which I'm super grateful for, because some people it's like can't handle it, can't be in the smell, the same room, that sort of thing. So, but
Yeah, I knew somebody that um got over it themselves, that
mm,
were allergic to strawberries.
right,
They went to the hospital a few times,
right,
because
wow,
you see those movies where they get allergic to something, their
you
face.
swell up,
Yeah, well, it's not that bad, but it's the throat thing.
closing off, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, and
and
strawberries, I'm able to eat out of all the berries, because strawberries are not a berry because they are
yeah,
considered a fruit because their seeds
yeah.
are on the outside. So things like
What
pears and
about a
bananas,
banana?
I
Because they're
can't I can't have bananas.
Yeah, because bananas, I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
Bananas are
they're
actually a berry.
berry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? That's a berry?
That's right. I've been eating this all my life, and it's a berry. It doesn't look like a
Yeah.
berry.
But they would rub it on their skin, and they would rash up and everything. But it got to where, um, they would rub it on their mouth, and then a lot of times it'd swell up.
Yeah.
But that's how they trained themselves. And I'm like, I don't know, just eat a strawberry. I don't know if I would go that far.
Are yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, see, like myself, like I ate raspberries, like, this, where I'm at, they would grow in the backyard, and my mom would give me a little tin and I'd go pick them, and then she'd put canned milk and sugar on them and I'd eat it with a spoon. And I love the smell of that and the memory
Mhm.
of that. But you like, do I really want to eat them? Because I get wicked migraines, and like disoriented. And the older I get, the more it's like my breathing starts getting cut off. So, oh, that's
Oh,
interesting.
thank you for the super chat, by the way. And I don't think I've seen that one. Are you talking about Lyme disease? But I don't
Yeah.
know about the allergic to meat products. That'd be wicked.
Wow.
That's another one, not being able to eat meat. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so Pat can't do turkey, bad reaction. Oh, so Feder Lumpkin says that's a new, so something has evolved in the whole tick thing.
yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't doubt it. I'm not saying it's not a thing, because
yeah.
you hear about things getting, mixed with other things, and
Yep.
pretty soon it's
Yeah.
comes about.
Yes, it does. And that's where you go, well, I would like to, you know, raise my own beef, raise my own pork, raise my own chickens.
Yeah,
You can't totally disengage from all of it, because just because of the pollution that's in the air, it's going to affect it. But at least I know how this animal was raised. I know what it was fed, and so
yeah. There was a thing about our potato head, president said that, we need to put stuff in the sky so it cools off our,
all right, yeah,
global warming thing.
right,
Well, with all the fires up there in Canada, they dissipated, but there's a layer stuck in the ozone,
yep,
and guess what? It's heating things up.
yep,
Huh. I
yep,
think I think their idea backfired a bit.
yeah. Yeah, they've been doing that. They called it seeding. I know in the province next to us in Alberta, which is huge farmland. Like it's the provinces like on the west coast and east coast were a little bit different, but you're the ones in the middle. That's where the farming takes place. And they go, oh yeah, we throw out the seeds so that to keep the air cool and stuff like that. And it's just got some salt in it. And this was a few years back, and it's like, so you see this, you see the sky, and then it turns into, you know, great big giant, why can't I think of what they are? When frozen rain, what is that? What is that called?
Hell.
Hail. Just hello moment there. Just nope, can't come up with that snowball thing that comes out of the sky. And they would have great big, you know, hailstorms, and it would
Yeah.
just destroy. And so what does it do? Oh, it's destroyed the cornfields. Oh, it's destroyed, you know, all these different things. So, but
Mhm.
anyway,
And
it's been going on for a while, and you know, and now people are becoming more aware, and not putting their heads in the sand, which is good. But it's still, we are at the mercy of whatever's going on in the sky.
yeah, and the people, not, I mean, they put up a lot in California, but they say, oh, you guys on the East Coast get to know how it feels to have smoke in the air and whatnot. And there's a big difference. We
Yes,
have all the humidity on this side,
yes.
and mixed with that humidity turns that the smoke uh, into formaldehyde, and
Wow,
that's not good to breathe in.
wow. I don't think I
Yeah,
knew that.
yeah, that's why um, our levels, our air quality was so bad when the smoke started coming down here, is
Right,
because it hit the humidity, and
right.
when it raised, the UV turned the smoke into formaldehyde and benzoy or something like that, and made it toxic basically.
Yeah.
Even though it's okay to go outside, just don't do anything.
Like breathe.
Yeah,
Wow, I didn't know that it would turn it into formaldehyde.
yeah.
That's
I was like, what? How do you make for? And then I went, down the rabbit hole and figured out how it does this, and it was, the UV rays from the sun and mixed with this and that and makes formaldehyde. And I'm like, oh wow.
wow. That's very interesting. Hmm.
And you could see we had like film and stuff over our vehicles, and
Yep, yep.
uh, I went out and walked, and because I usually don't do this because it's the stuff in our water is not good because it's city water. I
Hmm.
sprayed my plants down, the whole thing, to try to wash some of that stuff off of,
Right,
in case it got on the plants.
right. Yeah. I on the island, we haven't had too much smoke over the past years. Like we sometimes get, you know, from the California fires or Oregon. But I know up here in central BC, where my mom is, they were just socked in with the smoke as well, with the amount of fires that were around here in British Columbia.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, you can't have the windows open. You can't go outside. You can't, like, it was just brutal. But I'm
Mhm.
grateful that, you know, we had just like, it was just almost like it was a weird overcast day, but the smoke actually didn't enter into our breathing atmosphere. Of course, it's up there, and who knows, you know, what else it's doing, you know, to, you know, our environment. But
Yeah.
mhm. Anyway,
And
as a
we,
Canadian, I'm sorry for all the fires that you guys have been having
well,
to deal with.
it's
It's just
on
awful.
the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff on that because
Hmm.
they show radar or satellite images, and they take it down, and all five fires start at the same time,
Exactly.
and
Nope.
just a coincidence. Yeah,
Just a coincidence. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think there was, I think over here in BC, I think it was BC, or I don't know, somewhere in Canada, but it was like they said it was arson, and that the person, and it was two different people that started them. And this person who was 39 years old started 39 fires. And this person over here that was 36 years old started 36 fires. And it's like, what the heck? I just, I just gonna turn that off and go.
Yeah,
I have
it's
no
just
idea. Like that just is ridiculous.
yeah. Oh, Ohio's had some stuff going on this year. It's not. We had a train, and
Right.
then we have these. And I showed a picture, a little short of the sun when this was happening, and you can barely see a little orange looking thing, and it was blacked out that much.
Wow. Wow.
But I mean, I've been in LA when the smog was bad, and that's
Right.
what it reminded me of.
Right. Yeah. Oh, well, I see you posted a comment there, Robert, and so sorry for the secondhand smoke from Canada. I apologize to you personally as a Canadian. Uh,
Well,
toasting,
I
toasting.
think that's about it for our little. We kind of went over a little bit, but
Oh,
that's okay. um, you got any last minute words or anything you want to tell everybody to make sure everybody goes and subscribes to her channel and check it
yeah,
out?
I'd really appreciate that. And one thing I've noticed that, when if you're on a live and you suddenly get an influx of people, you go, oh, I got 6 new subscribers. Yay. The next morning I wake up, 6 are gone. And
Yep.
so I think what you need to do is make sure when you go to subscribe, watch at least one or two and just a couple of my shorts, just so
Yep.
that
And
your
leave a
subscription
comment.
sticks. Yeah, yeah, and comment something, because it was, well, actually, even when I first started the Global Gardening and Homesteading Challenge, um, Gear, I don't know how to do the second part of his channel. We chatted, and within our videos, because we're both on the same team. And then probably about a month later, I went to go and look, and it was like, how am I unsubscribed? And so again, we chatted about it. He
Yeah.
goes, I'm unsubscribed from you as well. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I would
And
appreciate you subscribing to my channel. It would be awesome, and I appreciate it. And I really appreciate you reaching out, Charles. This is
oh yeah.
it means the world to me. Like it's like I've I have absolutely, I get a little even emotional, fallen in love with the the homesteading community out there. That
Yeah.
for 2 years I'm doing it by myself, watching everybody's videos, not knowing that you guys had this other little secret world where y'all chat. And now that
Yeah.
I'm in it, it's like, these are my new best friends.
Yeah. And
So it's a
it's
real,
great to go to somebody's channel that that's in this community, and you
mhm,
start talking, and they automatically pick up a conversation with you, and while
yeah,
you're watching something on a live or whatnot.
yeah,
Great.
yeah. No,
But what
it's
I was going to say is there's a new thing that's not quite out yet. So when you leave a comment, leave at least 2 hearts. I know it sounds weird, but those emojis are triggers that rank up. I don't know how long it's going to be before because they did have a thing on when you go to a live that was in the way. I didn't like it because it was in the way because you couldn't read the last comment.
right,
And it had hearts and things like that you could uh, you could push when the live said something interesting or something.
right.
So they took that away, but they left the fact that you can actually post hearts in a comment, and it ranks you up higher in the
Wow,
algorithm. So
wow.
if you can leave hearts, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. So yeah.
Okay, I think Jeff told me 101's going live. He'll probably be live in about 30 minutes. And then at 10 o'clock, Craig the Hunter is going live. And I'm not sure if I might be on tomorrow or not. So you'll have to see. But I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for the super chats. Mods, you're doing an awesome job, and we will see you on the next one. God bless everybody.
God bless. Thank you.